still like me after I finish this. For the last several years, our country has been faced with an economic crisis of a magnitude unprecedented since the Great Depression. The manner in which we, the people, decide to move forward in the face of this crisis will say much about our priorities and who we are as a nation. It is true that property taxes are too high. It is also true that there need to be some changes in the levels of contributions that public employees make to the health insurance premiums, as well as changes in the funding of pensions of public employees. However, it is simply wrong, inaccurate, and deceitful to point a finger at public employees and blame them for all of our ills. The blame, to a large degree, lies elsewhere. It lies with tax breaks to the wealthiest members of our society that are paid for by the lower middle class, thus increasing the divide between the haves and the have-nots. It lies with, and you should pardon me, with Albany, which is so profoundly inept and incapable of acting in the best interest of the citizens, that has become the laughingstock of the nation as the most dysfunctional state government in the country. It is a state government where no one has the political will and courage to take on the critical issues of declining property values, equalization rates, tax certiorari's, and property valuation that are causing many downstate municipalities and school districts to hemorrhage money every year. It is a state government brought to its knees by partisanship, special interests, and backroom dealings, so nothing really gets fixed. For example, the way we fund education in this state is broken. There is a heavy reliance on property taxes, yet there are questions about whether there is an equitable distribution of these taxes between the owners of single-family houses and those who dwell in condominiums, co-ops, and rental apartments. There are also questions about tax burden allocations between residential and commercial properties. There are also the archaic and antiquated formulas by which the respective wealth of communities is evaluated and then the state aid distributed. There is the question of whether other funding methodologies would better serve our state. For example, Michigan has had some success with the state income tax that can be augmented by localities as they see fit. There are so many questions and answers with which our elected officials turned a blind eye. Now our newly minted governor, and I am a lifelong Democrat and I voted for him, in the face of the budget crisis seeks to close an enormous gap in part on the backs of our children. We are cutting at a time when many experts agree that the education system in this country needs to be revised and reimagined so that our kids, and they are all our kids, can compete more effectively in the 21st century global economy against competitors who sit in classrooms around the world, not just in the next school district, the next town, county, or state. We are cutting in a country whose education system was once the envy of the whole world, but has since fallen to an embarrassing level. The children who sit in our classrooms today won't get a second chance at this. This is not their dress rehearsal. This is their life. It can well be argued that as society's two most important and most cost-effective expenditures are one, prenatal care, and two, sound education for our kids. It is cheaper to provide women with effective prenatal care because babies born with otherwise preventable birth defects are much more costly to society in every sense of the word. Similarly, the failure to properly educate kids robs them of so many opportunities and robs our democracy of its lifeblood and its vibrancy. The governor and many elected officials are also clamoring for a 2% property tax cap. Such a cap, without real and significant relief from unfunded state mandates, will result in draconian cuts by school districts that will have the effect of creating a de facto caste system similar to that envisioned by Aldous Huxley in his 1932 classic, Brave New World. When I was in grade school, I was taught that this country is a great melting pot where people from all over the world come to pursue their dreams. Indeed, many of us sitting in this room, including me, are descended from people who came to this country less than 100 years ago. I was also taught that this is the country where anyone can grow up to be president. While our current president is an incredible example of what this country tells the rest of the world that it is. There is a cost to living in a society. When our homes burn, we want firefighters there to put out the blaze. When somebody runs afoul of the law, we want the police officers there to make our world safe. We want roads, we want bridges, sanitation collection, hospitals, and all those other little perks that come along with being a member of a society. We also want and need our kids to be educated. Mr. Castelli, what we need are leaders who think outside the box, who will find the solutions to the problems that vex us, who will make judicious cuts when necessary, but are also not afraid to stand up with force and courage and remind the people that some cuts go too deep and will leave an impact far more devastating and costly than the short-term, short-sighted savings that are gained. Thank you.